Hi there, listeners from all over the world. Thanks for catching another of my short but hopefully useful lessons. Also, be sure to check out my updated webpage for all the content and services I'm now offering. So let's get started with the lesson. Now, when we're talking about old habits, routines, or general truths from the past, we can use the phrase used to. For example, I was born in the UK and I lived there for many years before I moved to Spain. I don't live in the UK now, so I can say I lived in the UK when I was younger. Or, I used to live in the UK when I was younger. I went there every day. I used to go there every day. Used to is always followed by an infinitive verb form when it's referring to past habits. It is also only used for the past. If you want to express a habit or routine in the present, then you can use usually. But it's not correct, as some people hope to say, used to. It's not used to, it's usually. But in the past, used to. It is used to for all subjects, singular, plural, first person, second person, third person. It's used to for everybody. I used to, you used to, he used to, she used to, we used to, they used to. Everybody used to. She used to practice yoga. They used to travel by train before they bought their car. We used to see each other more often. I used to hate that kind of music, but now I quite like it. There is a negative form. I never used to. I never used to take the bus to work, but now I have no car. It is the only way. She never used to speak English so well. She must be a good student. It is correct to use didn't used to, but I find it more typical to use never used to. But in the question, did is totally used. Did you used to live in England? Did you used to go to school in the city? So yeah, again, we're using used with D at the end. Did you used to live or did you used to go? So, past situations, habits, and routines that are not continued today can be expressed with used to. And we can also use would to replace the expression used to when talking about habits and routines from the past. For example, I used to have lunch out every day in my previous job. I would have lunch out every day in my previous job. They both have the same usage in those examples. And in negative, we see the same thing. I didn't used to eat out in my previous job. I never used to eat out in my previous job. I would never eat out in my previous job. I would never. But we only use would this way when we're talking about actions and routines. For example, I used to live in England when I was younger is a situation. It's not an action and it is not a routine. So it is not correct to use would in this way. So I would live in England when I was younger. This sentence is not correct. Here you have to use I lived in England or I used to live in England. Okay, because it's a situation, it's not an action. But I would go out with my friends every weekend. She would always go to the gym after work before she had her baby. They would travel to the same place for holidays every year. In all of those cases, you can use would or used to without any difference. One more thing on this subject. When we're talking about routines and actions, there can be a real advantage when using would because of the way that we can contract it when we speak. For example, I'd have lunch out every day in my previous job. I'd never have lunch out every day in my previous job. Here we have I'd, the contraction for I would. She'd always go to the gym after work before she had her baby. They'd travel to the same place for holidays every year. So we can contract would directly with the subject pronoun, I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, etc. But in the negative, we have to add the negative part contracted to would. So it would be I wouldn't, you wouldn't, he wouldn't, she wouldn't, they wouldn't, etc. So in this lesson about the past, we have seen how to express habits, actions, situations using used to and would. Well, that's it for the lesson, but join me for another, either coming soon or from the existing playlist. Don't forget to check out my website, and I'll catch you in another lesson. Have a great day. Cheers.